Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining, and welcome to this week's product training with Blue Triangle. Today we're going to talk about the custom reports and data science module in Blue Triangle. With this module, you can build reports that don't exist anywhere else in Blue Triangle, which is one of the reasons why it's such a powerful tool. Custom reports give you the ability to gain deeper insight into your data and ultimately better understand what's happening on your site. So today we're going to cover everything you need to know to get started creating your own custom reports in the Blue Triangle portal. Alright, so if you haven't joined any of our sessions yet, I typically lead these. My name is Mark and I'm the support manager here at Blue Triangle. So here's a brief agenda of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to start with how to build a basic report. Kind of from the ground up in the custom reports and data science module. We'll also cover how to save these reports. You can actually save them for analysis later on, or you can actually save them as a dashboard widget so you can view that data in real time. You can also add comparisons. You can add comparison graphs or comparison lines. We'll get into the differences between those here in a few minutes. There are a few different types of graphs that you can create. There are line graphs, scatter plots, and histograms. We'll show an example of each of those. And another really cool feature is you can actually group by multiple things. So for example, if you wanted to group by device, and then for each device, group by browser, you can see for each device what kind of browsers are hitting your site from that device, and also some sort of metric or information about each of those browsers. Alright, so that's actually all the slides I have for today. We're going to jump right into a walkthrough in Blue Triangle now. So here we are on the custom reports and data science module in the Blue Triangle portal. You can get to this page in the menu under custom reports and data science right here. And when you first get there, you're just basically going to be prompted to get started by creating a new custom graph. So let's run through now how to build a basic report. So you click this and it's going to take you through a little wizard to build the report. First, you'll choose your data type. We'll go with real user. The next thing is you'll choose your graph type, and we'll just go with line graph. Here you can change the time period. We'll go with the default for this scenario here. You can change time zone, bucket size, and how you want to group the data. And if you're grouping by a displayed metric, you can choose a variety of metrics here, including business metrics as well, depending on whether these apply to your site. You can also group by basically any of the dimensions or filter options that we're collecting for you. Much of this is default. If you have any custom data fields, custom categories, or you're able to group those here as well. We're just going to go with the displayed metric of onload, and the next and final step is to set your filter options. But if you don't want to do any filtering, you can actually just hit this go button right here, and that'll build the graph with unfiltered data. So we'll just leave all these blank for now. I have these folded down. I think I had homepage in my previous analysis, so I'll clear that. Yeah, okay. So none of our filters are set. And just for the sake of the demonstration, I can go back to the this previous step, and I'll just hit go. All right, and here you see onload over time for all pages on Demo e-commerce global for the past 24 hours. You can view this information in a graph or a table. And down below, you'll see the averages for the time period listed out. So in this case, we only have the onload metric, and we'll see the average for that, the average onload over this time period. Now this is a table by default, but you can also view this as a graph. Sometimes it's nice to see if you have multiple items here in this section, you'll be able to look at those as a graph down here as well. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to show you is how you can actually save this analysis for later use. So this Save Graph button up here, if you click that, all you need to do is give it a name. So we'll say all pages onload. So you can save it as a dashboard widget or an analysis, or just go ahead and save it as both. We'll just start with saving it as an analysis right now. So now what you can do is, if you're ever, whenever you want to clear your graph and start fresh, you can just refresh the page, and that'll bring you to this default screen here. Now, since I just saved a graph as analysis, one of the things I can do when I first hit this page is load that saved analysis here. So I would just click that button, choose the graph or analysis I want to view, and click that eyeball to view the graph here. Alright, so another thing I wanted to point out, we can actually save this as a, say that as a separate analysis for demonstration here. We can also save this as a dashboard widget. So if I click that, it's going to show up on this custom analytics and trending dashboard. And there's actually a link right here to go directly to that dashboard. So now you can see this information in real time. You can bring this auto refresh down to 2 minutes if you like, and you can see, of course, onload for all pages over time. Now, one thing I'll point out really quick is you don't actually have to go through that process exactly to create custom widgets in your dashboard. For example, if you were on another dashboard, another custom dashboard, you'd actually be able to go up and add a custom widget like this just by going down to the bottom here and choosing the custom widget. So this lists out all of the available options that will show up in data science. It's not as nice a view with the wizard, but all the options are here. You can fill those out and build the custom dashboard widget straight from your dashboard. Another thing that's nice is you can actually, we could choose one of our saved data science graphs, so we could go in and pick our, all pages onload or all pages onload to, or whatever it is. All right, so going back over to the data science page, the next thing I'd like to show you is how to add a comparison. So first we'll start with a comparison graph. To do that, you're just going to hit add comparison graph up here, this blue button, and essentially you can just change any of the filter options that you'd like to change and hit apply filters for comparison. So let's say we'd like to compare onload and largest contentful paint. We'll keep the time period the same in this case and apply filters for comparison. So now we have the two graphs side by side with the time period and basic filtering up here for onload to the left and LCP to the right. And of course you get your averages table or graph down below for each of those. So that is how to add a comparison graph. Now let's add a comparison line. So the thing about adding a comparison line is you can go in and change the filters any way you like. But when you add a comparison line, you're going to click this button here, and it's going to prompt you to set the comparison time period. So the thing about this is it'll have to be the same exact time period, so it'll line up on the graph. So in this case, I'll just click the 20, and that'll automatically select basically the 24 hours prior to what's already on the page. So hit apply and add line to graph. So now we can see the largest contentful paint from this time period and the largest contentful paint from this time period, right on the same graph. And down here you can see the performance. So it looks like our base largest contentful paint performance was a little bit slower than the other date that we selected. Alright, so I'm going to just refresh and we'll start over here, and I'm going to choose, this time I'm going to choose a scatter plot. So with this use case, I'll choose synthetic data, and we'll go with a scatter plot. In this situation, we're going to choose, let's say, the last 3 hours, and for the x-axis, we'll say onload, and for the y-axis, we'll say element count. We'll order the x-axis or onload from lowest to highest. And let's say we'd like to view this information for the home page. Okay. We'll hit go there, and the graph will get built. I chose this graph specifically because we find it's very interesting. You'll notice these sort of sections where the number of elements tends to, depending on what happened on the page, it tends to group up into various sections. Not for every site, of course, but occasionally it might be enlightening to see this kind of data. Another thing that you can do is click one of these, since it's synthetic data. If you click that, you can actually view all of the performance details for this specific page load. So that includes the domain and object level detail, the function tracing and the function tracing along with the object level detail, as well as the HAR file, the screenshot and film strip, and console log and the rest of these. So it's really cool to be able to, from this view, drill into that specific page load. So one of the things that's interesting is, you could look at this, and then you could go up to one of these page loads around the same performance and see why were there 2 or 3 times as many elements loading, and see how that looks different via the screenshots, or what were the elements that were loading that weren't loading down here. Alright, so the last thing I wanted to show everyone before we finish up today is how you can do multiple group bys. So we're going to start here and choose a custom graph. We'll do a real user line graph. And what we're going to do is choose to group the data by device. And we're going to choose a subgroup of browser. And let's see here. Yeah, we'll choose any of these metrics. It's not super important. Let's see which one's interesting. TTI. And let's go ahead and just choose a page or two. Let's look at the performance detail page. So here, obviously we're grouping this information by device. So we're going to get a line over the time period here. Looks like we are looking at the last 3 hours, and for mobile, tablet, and desktop, we each see a line. And then down at the bottom, we have averages for each of these. So you can see the average time to interactive. You can see the total page measurements that took place for each device, making up that average, and how much of the percent of total hits that represents. All right, now the cool thing here is, since we did a second subgroup, now if we click on this expand button under mobile, we'll see all of the browsers that made up this information broken out by browser, right? So Chrome here is right at 8 seconds flat for the time to interactive, and you can see the rest of these here. So this same information listed out like that. All right. Now I just clicked this graph button here, and that will actually graph essentially this information here over the time period. So some of these are a little wild, so I will get rid of those. Facebook, Safari, and Chrome. So anyways, just a different view of the data, a nice way to slice and dice the data and reveal the insights. You can also, so that was for mobile. You can also go in here and choose a different device. So if we wanted to look at desktop, we would see that information here as well.